Hi, this is part 2 and I'm about to show you the vlog of our holiday to Cyprus as a neurodivergent family. I obviously only filmed the good parts of the holiday, so stick around after the vlog and I'll be talking about sensory issues, meltdowns and all things neurodivergent. Here's a little tour of the downstairs of our villa on holiday. I did film a full video the night before when we arrived, but it was in the dark, so I deleted that. This is our gorgeous kitchen. It had everything we needed. That was amazing. And a nice, bright, fresh living room. We had aircon all over the villa as well, so that was great. It just led to the patio outside where our pool was. And as you can see, it was just perfect. The deep end as well was really deep, which I like because I love swimming, so that was ideal. Obviously it might not be as good for if you've got younger kids, but gorgeous little seating area. It was so hot outside.
Do you have vegan butter? No.
Oh, my bit these digestives. Oh. 1984. First up, let's talk sensory issues. I have spoken about this in quite a few of my videos. I experience a lot of sensory issues, as do both my daughters. My oldest daughter probably has the least sensory issues. She has ADHD. She's not autistic like me and my younger daughter. So at home, I have so many sensory issues. And when we were on holiday, my sensory issues were different. And I'll explain what I mean about that. So at home, I have a lot of responsibility. Obviously, I'm a mum, I work, in my mind constantly, as you know, if you're neurodivergent, you can't switch your brain off. Especially, I've got that ADHD mind, which is constantly on the go, and I can't ever tone that down. So when I'm at home, I'm always thinking about all the things that I need to do. I'm always procrastinating about the things I need to do. I'm thinking about everything. I'm overthinking, thinking into the future. I'm thinking about the past. I'm thinking about everything at once. So when I'm on holiday, it's nice to be able to let, not all of that go, but let a lot of that go. As a result of that, I have found that when I'm at home, my sensory issues involve a lot of the 5 senses, and when I'm at home, I've noticed sound bothers me a lot more. Whereas when I'm on holiday, sound is not much of a sensory issue for me. So I'll give you an example. When I'm at home and I've got so many things on my mind, I can hear every single noise. I can hear the electricity. I can hear people talking in the distance, dogs barking, like streets away. I can hear absolutely everything. Everything feels louder when I'm overwhelmed. Everything is just, if there's too many noises at once, I can feel really irritable, things like that. When I'm on holiday, sound doesn't get to me like that. So for example, we stayed in a villa, which was absolutely amazing, by the way. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. And it was situated in a place where there were other people on holiday in the villas, but it was also in an area where people lived. And in the evening, it was just so lovely. It was in a quiet little town. It wasn't rowdy in any way, but it was nice to hear the local Cypriot families spending time outside and enjoying time with their family. And even if it didn't get louder than rowdy, but even when it got a little bit loud at times, when you were laughing loud and things, it was just really nice to hear. And it kind of obviously we were in Cyprus, it was nice to be in that kind of environment, and that kind of sound doesn't get to me whatsoever. Being outside on holiday, because you spend most of your time outside, the natural sounds of being outside don't bother me whatsoever. And the sounds that are less natural, for example, like cars and things like that, they don't get to me as much when I'm on holiday, because I've got less responsibilities and less things going on in my mind. So that's just one sensory issue for me that was actually better on holiday. There are other sensory issues that were worse on holiday, or getting to Cyprus, for example. Airports chaotic. We all know they're chaotic, and airports are really overwhelming. So I think on the way there, it was a little bit better than coming back, because on the way there, you've got that element of excitement as well. But I also have a lot of anxiety in airports. For example, when it comes to, when they say about ADHD people and queues, like we don't like queuing and things like that, I'm not going to push in a queue. But it doesn't take away the fact that I hate being in a queue. I'm autistic as well, but being in a queue for me fills me with massive anxiety. And it's not, I don't know what I'm anxious about being in a crowd, but it's almost like I feel like I can't breathe deeply until we've dealt with what we need to deal with at the front of the queue. I feel like I don't know what it is. I feel irritated. I feel impatient, not to the point where I'm annoyed at people, but to the point where I just can't relax when I'm in a queue. Because we got assisted travel at the airport, that was so much better. There was still some queues, but it wasn't as much as if we didn't get the assisted travel. So that's something straight away in the airport that really was stressful. Obviously, airports are really busy. There's people like walking in all different directions. There's people sat on the floor in different places, and there's obviously, when you're going for food and stuff, there's queues everywhere. So the airport is stressful, probably for everyone. As a neurodivergent person in an airport, I found it really stressful. But my youngest daughter in particular was getting really stressed out in the airport. We flew from Manchester. It's a massive airport, and although it was good, with the assisted travel, we got through things a little bit quicker. Apart from, when we went through security, one of our bags got flagged up to be checked, and we had to wait for ages for that because there was a whole queue of bags that needed to be checked. And it turned out to be my daughter's fidget toy, like this ice cube things, the squishy ice cube things. And I didn't even think, she had it in a bag, and because it's a gel inside, I think it flagged up as a liquid. So they were like inspecting that, and my daughter was we didn't know it was that until after they checked it. I felt really anxious because even though I knew I hadn't packed anything like that you weren't supposed to pack, I always think, what are they checking for? And it makes me panic. My daughter was starting to go into a meltdown about that. She was really stressed out about it. Obviously, we found out it was the squishy toy, and they checked it and they were like, yeah, right, it's fine. So that was stressful. We got on the plane, and as you'll see from my vlog, so I pre-booked the seats because I feel like you've just got to do that. As a neurodivergent family, you need to. Like, my daughter would not be able to cope if we were all sat different, and no one really wants to sit away from the family, I don't think. So we kind of booked 3 in a row, and then the one next to it over the aisle. On the way there, the flight wasn't full, and I was so happy. I got 2 empty seats next to me, which is obviously a neurodivergent's dream. And eventually my older daughter moved over and sat in the row, so there was 2 of us in each row. But it was nice to not have to sit next to strangers, no offence to anyone. And so that was great, but then we got delayed for an hour and a half and had to sit on the tarmac for an hour and a half because we'd missed our runway slot due to other planes missing their runway slots before us. Something to do with weather, even though the weather didn't seem that bad, but I don't know if it was like higher up in the atmosphere, but we had to sit there for an hour and a half, which caused, it was less stressful because I had those empty seats next to me, but my younger daughter was really panicking about that because she gets very, very nervous about being on planes and things like that. But in general, that plane journey was quite not too bad once we'd taken off because it was a lot emptier. So that was good. We arrived late at night in Cyprus. We got a car, we picked up a car from near the airport, which was kind of part of our deal with the villa. And that was a little bit stressful because me and my husband both drive manual cars. I have driven an automatic before and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I like driving a manual car because it gives me something to do with my hands. like, it's almost like being able to fidget while driving. I need to be able to do all those things. So I'm going through the process of driving. I feel safer and more comfortable doing that. When I've tried driving an automatic car, I remember once I drove my boss's car. He told me when I was doing deliveries, and I've really struggled with it. I don't like driving automatics. It almost feels too easy. I need the manual car. So my husband had never drove an automatic, and when we got to pick the car up, it was an automatic. So even though technically it's easier, and after a few minutes of driving it, he was like, oh, this is well easier. But at first he was nervous. We were driving in the dark as well, on obviously Cypriot roads that we'd never drove on before. We were like 45 minutes away from our villa. So there were times where some of the roads were not well lit at all, even though like in Cyprus to drive on the same side of the road as in the UK, but some of the roads were really dark. So we were obviously like following the sat nav and everything, but it was a bit nerve-wracking at times. It was okay, we got there in the end. And we obviously like got in, we pretty much went straight to bed, because I think by that time it was like early hours of the morning. I've gone off track, sorry. So back to the sensory issues. Sand. I love the sea. I love being in the sea when it's clear and I can see through it. I'm not a fan of being on the sand. So like as a family, we're not really, I'm not saying we're not beach people, but we're not stay at the beach all day people. So what we did on holiday was we tended to just get to the beach, put our stuff down somewhere and go straight in the sea. And we'd be in the sea for like 2 hours and we'd come out and just go. We're not like staying lying down on the beach all day. And I can't think of, we did it once where we reapplied sun lotion on the sand and it's just a nightmare, and the sand gets stuck to you. It feels horrible, and it's just like, it just feels sticky and horrible. So it was kind of like, so yeah, sand was a massive sensory issue. But in general, we just spent our time, when we were at the beach, we spent our time in the sea, and that was amazing. The sea was just so clear. The beaches were amazing. Very busy though, which was stressful, but we got there. We tried to get there early on some of the days, but it's just nice to be in the sea. Basically tried snorkeling for the first time, as you'll see on the vlog. I am really proud of my younger daughter as well, because last year when we went to Cyprus again, we went for a wedding last year, and we did love it. This is my third time visiting Cyprus. It's an absolutely beautiful country. It's lovely. Everyone's so friendly. And so this is our third time. But last year my daughter didn't want to go to the beach at all. She was really panicking about the beach and being in the sea and things like that. But this year she loved it. So again, not the sand, but she loved being in the sea. So I was really proud of her for she stepped out of her comfort zone and she actually really enjoyed it. So that was great. Going back to the sound, in the nighttime when we went out, like we were self-catering, we had a villa, which was amazing, by the way. I don't ever want to go back to going in a hotel after having a villa. We had obviously a full-size kitchen, we had our own pool. It was amazing. We got quite a good deal on it as well, because we got like a free child place, there was a car included, and because it was like outside, it was in like a little quieter town. We just, in the evening, we either drove in, or if my husband wanted to have a beer or two, then we'd get a taxi, and it wasn't that long. We drove into Pataras, we got a taxi, or went into Ayia Napa. And the sounds from like bars and stuff, because a lot of the bars are outdoor. If we went in a family bar before we went out for a meal, yes, some of them were loud, but again, going back to that, because I didn't have all the overwhelm of home, I didn't have that. The sounds didn't bother me as much, and because I like the music, I could tolerate it for a certain amount of time, and then we would go for a meal. So like my daughter as well, my younger daughter, she wanted to be in that environment. She did get overwhelmed by the music, but she was quite happy to play on a tablet. She took it with her because it helps her feel, in those kinds of situations, it helps her feel more comfortable. So she can, although it got noisy at times for her, and she actually did want to be there, but she still got a little bit stressed out with the noise. Because she had something to distract her, she was okay with that. She could cope with it. So what we would tend to do is go into one bar. I don't drink anyway, I don't drink alcohol, so I was just drinking water. Just went into one bar while my husband had a beer, and like my older daughter's an adult, you know, she had a cocktail or whatever, and then we went for food in a restaurant. So just to add in, we're all vegan. I have also got I'm gluten-free. I've pretty much got intolerance to most grains, especially wheat. So I'm kind of like gluten-free and vegan. So out of all of us, I'm the one who finds it harder to eat out in places, but it was still easy enough anyway. In Cyprus, amazing for vegan food. A lot of their traditional food, not a lot of it, but some of their traditional food is already vegan, like things like olives, and you can get stuffed vine leaves, which I love. You can get other kind of like stuffed vegetables. They're stuffed with like rice and stuff and herbs. Obviously, you can't go wrong with salad and chips, but a lot of the restaurants had a whole vegan menu. So there was like Italian restaurants that did vegan cheese, so you could have a vegan pizza, or like obviously spaghetti, things like that. Indian restaurants, traditional Greek restaurants that had a vegan menu. We ate loads of amazing food. The supermarkets were amazing for vegan food as well. So for that part of it was good, and because we were self-catering as well, we had food in our kitchen, so it was just really nice to be able to eat what we wanted when we wanted and not have to stress too much about food. When it comes to texture, like things like when I'm at home, I wear clothes that are comfy. Like on holiday, you're pretty much most of the time in the day in your swimwear, depending on what you're doing. I just want to add, it was like 37 degrees in the shade, so I'm imagining probably like 40 degrees maybe in the actual sun. It was obviously so hot, but in a way more bearable than when it's hot in the UK, because although it is slightly, if you go to Cyprus earlier in the year, it's more of a dry heat. This time round it was more humid, and I can tell that because I don't sweat very much in the UK unless it's a really hot day. Within minutes of being outside in Cyprus, the sweat. Sorry for the information, but yeah, it's easy to sweat because it's humid at this time of year. So yeah, most of the time, as long as I'm around water in that kind of situation, I am comfortable. As long as I've got water to go and to cool down, and then you can come out, and if it gets too hot, go back in the water, that's fine. So we had a pool, we went to the beach, things like that. There was one day we walked up like 300 stairs, this gorgeous church called St. Elias Church, which is like a Greek Orthodox church on top of a hill, and it was so beautiful, like the church itself, and it has trees with like ribbons where people tie a ribbon on for their loved ones, and it was lovely up there, and the view was amazing. So that was really hard work, walking up those stairs in like the heat, but we weren't there for that long and it was worth it. Sun lotion for my daughter, she hates having sun lotion on, and I'm not a fan of it. Like, I wear moisturiser in the day and stuff anyway, but she hates having sun lotion applied and things like that, so that was a bit of effort. But obviously, you know, we were in a really hot country, she had to have it on. I buy like a really good quality natural sun lotion, which doesn't smell harsh, it doesn't smell of chemicals, because most sun lotion you buy in shops is toxic, it's carcinogenic, and it's packed with chemicals that are just really bad for you. So I buy like a natural one, so it's not got that harsh scent to it, but she still doesn't like having that applied either, so that was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, overall, the sensory issues for me personally weren't too bad. There was times like coming home in the airport, I felt a lot more overwhelmed. It was a smaller airport. It's a lovely airport, but smaller, a lot more busy. It felt a bit chaotic, and that was very overwhelming. But other than that, a lot of my sensory issues were not the same as when they're at home, because I don't also have that overwhelm of all the responsibilities that I have at home. So coming to meltdowns, my younger daughter, who is autistic and she's almost definitely ADHD as well, had a couple of meltdowns. Like one was on not the first night when we arrived, because that was early hours, but the first night we went out to a restaurant after that, where we were looking for a restaurant. We just come into Pretoris. It was our first time there. We didn't know which restaurant we were going. We'd literally only just got there. It was really hot and humid, and she was getting overwhelmed and she was getting stressed, and she ended up having a meltdown. We had to sit down on a bench, and that took a while for her to feel calm again. We eventually did go to a restaurant, but I think she wanted to know exactly where we were going, and I was trying to explain to her that I've never been here before, so I don't know exactly where we're going. We're just gonna have a look and see what happens. So yeah, there was that. And again, that made me realise that night, me and my husband were speaking about it, we needed to try and have more of a plan. Like, this is the thing, when you've got ADHD and autism, like myself, I kind of wing it. I wing most things. There are times, like I've mentioned in my other video, where when it comes to holiday and Christmas, I plan. But they're the only two things that I am able to plan, like, really thoroughly. Everything else, it's like, it doesn't come to me and I just have to wing it. So it made us realise, like, we need to try and have a little bit more structure. And I know that obviously structure is good for autism. I also am autistic and I need structure, but I'm also chaotic as well. So that's where it's difficult. So we realised that, but it is hard to have that structure if you've never been to a place before and you don't know where things are. So yeah, we were kind of trying to find the balance with that. Also, sorry, going back to sensory issues. So like I said, my hair is naturally curly. The first night I actually straightened my hair, and it was so humid, my hair just got massive. And then I thought, you know what, most of the nights after that, not all of them, but most of them, I just end up having my hair curly. So did my younger daughter. And the thing is, what I find is when my hair's straight, it doesn't tickle me neck as much. When my hair's curly, it's like, feels more tickly. And then when you're in a restaurant and there's fans blowing, like I remember we sat in a restaurant, there was a fan blowing from this side. So every time I was trying to eat, my hair was blowing into my mouth and it was like itchy on my face and things like that. So that was one thing. I kind of had to have curly hair because, well, I didn't have to, but it made more sense because either way, my hair was on its way to, if I straightened it, it was going to get curly anyway because of the humidity. But then at the same time, when it's curly, it was more itchy and tickly and stuff. And yeah, so sorry, going off track. Yeah, so there was a couple of meltdowns. But again, I'm trying to, like, things are different. Even though things were fun in a lot of ways, they were still different from what they're like at home. They were still different from what we do at home. So yeah, there was a couple of situations when my daughter got particularly really overwhelmed and it resulted in a meltdown. And there's always that kind of, I'm still getting used to that. You know, when you're being out in public, and I, as a person who is autistic and ADHD, I don't have a meltdown in the way that my daughter does. But for me, my meltdowns end up resulting in like a panic attack, and it's different. And I don't know whether a lot of that's masking and I'm really holding a lot of it in, but I don't have an outward meltdown in the way that my daughter does. So I think being in public as a parent of an autistic child, it can take some getting used to not be like, whereas my husband feel like is more bothered about, like, what those people gonna think. Whereas, and I'm kind of a little bit thinking like that, but then I'm trying to think, no, do you know what? I'm still getting used to the meltdowns in public, but I'm saying to him, look, she's autistic, she's not choosing to do this. And it's just getting used to that, you know, when people are looking. And I'm sure if you're a parent of a neurodivergent child, it might not always come naturally to just feel comfortable about that happening. It probably never feels comfortable because obviously your child's in distress, but also if you've got that added pressure of people looking, thinking, well, isn't she too old to behave like that? And I feel like that's a lot of pressure, and I'm still kind of getting used to that. So I just wanted to be honest about that. So yeah, that's meltdowns. And overall, I just want to say I absolutely loved staying in a villa. I loved the fact that we had our own space and privacy. We didn't have to worry about we didn't have to get up at the crack of dawn to go and get a space by the pool, like a sunbed by the pool, like you do in a hotel. We didn't have to worry about what time is the cleaner going to come, because you feel like, you have to be out the room by then, or it feels awkward. We didn't have to worry about any of that. It was just nice and chilled. And then also, to make it even better, this is something because I planned the whole holiday, really down to a T. Our flight home was 5 to 11 at night, but we had to check out the villa at 11 o'clock in the morning that day. Before the holiday, I was trying my hardest to see if we could pay to get a late checkout. And the holiday representative said, we can't arrange that from this end. She went, it might be something you can arrange when you're over there. So at first I was panicking, and I was thinking what we're going to have to do is, if we check out at the villa at 11, we're going to have to find a hotel to be able to go there for the day and hopefully pay for a room that we can use and have a shower in and put our stuff in. The thought of going all day in that heat without having a pool to go in, or without being able to get a proper shower and get clean before the flight home, made me feel really uncomfortable. But we ended up going on holiday with the thought that, right, we'll have to see if we can get a late checkout, and if not, we're going to have to, at the last minute, try and find a hotel, which filled me with so much panic. I'm so pleased that we had to ring the day before the day before we were due to check out. It said, there was a notice on the door, and it said, you can request a late checkout if no one else is coming into the villa the next day. And I was so grateful that we got the late checkout. So we were allowed to stay in the villa. We obviously had to pay for it, but we were allowed to stay in the villa until we needed to leave for the airport, which was amazing, because it meant we got a full proper last day. We could go swimming in the morning. We had that time to finish packing, to actually get a proper shower, get clean before we flew home. So we literally went from an air-conditioned villa into an air-conditioned car into an air-conditioned airport, which was nice, because if we'd have had to check out at 11, we would have been sweating all day, trying to find somewhere to swim and shower. And if we'd have swam at the beach, we would have got covered in sand, and then we wouldn't have been able to have a proper shower. It would have been horrible. We would have been covered in sun lotion and feeling all sticky and horrible. So I'm really grateful for the late checkout that we got. Overall, I do not want to stay in a hotel again. I want to stay in villas, which, yeah, it was just so nice, especially for a neurodivergent family, for us to have that privacy, and that I feel like we got to spend a lot more quality time together as a family, because we didn't have to stress about it just took so much of the stress away. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will link my part 1 of this, so my 5 tips for before you're booking a holiday for neurodivergent families. I'll link that now. Please check out my other videos. Got loads of videos about neurodivergent families, about different tips, things like right to choose, ADHD and autism assessments and things like that. Thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe. Bye.